County has no connection with the nuclear industry at all, and it's almost like they have to contaminate it. The way they come after us, it's almost like we've got to crucify this county. We cannot let this county go unharmed.
They still haven't heard that Allegany County people love where they are. They live here because they choose to live here. They have one home. It's not a transient society here. I mean, they are rooted, just like a tree is rooted out here. They are rooted into this county.
We're rural by choice. Most of us came here or have stayed here because we like the lifestyle, not because we've got a $50,000 a year job.
The Commission's task is very clearly identified in the law, which is New York State's Chapter 673, which is that we need to find at least one site, and possibly an alternate, but at least one site that will be able to handle for at least 30 years all the low-level radioactive waste that's generated in New York State by hospitals, universities, utilities, industry, research laboratories, that kind of thing.
My wife and I both recognized from reading the larger establishment press that there were tremendous problems in nuclear physics. It's a serious problem with enormous cleanup costs. And so when we were named way back in December of '88, we launched into an immediate community awareness program that they were going to start yet another site without solving the problem.
The Sheffield nuclear dump is one of 6 commercial sites around the U.S. 3 of those 6, Sheffield, our own West Valley, and Maxey Flats in Kentucky, have all been closed because they leaked. The remaining 3 are scheduled to close in 1993. And that is why there is such a push on to establish new nuclear dumps across the country.
No, no, no.
People, we are completely filled.
No, no.
No standing room whatsoever. We filled every single room in the entire building. This is an overflow area out here, and it has an outdoor speaker which will be working and operating in about 2 or 3 minutes when the meeting starts.
We knew that we would have a huge crowd, and we did. You know, we turned out what we wanted to turn out. That meeting was incredible. People, I don't know, we all felt so proud of Allegany County. We felt proud that people cared and people showed up and that people wanted to know what was going on. People wanted to ask questions and people wanted to tell the siting commission that no, they didn't want it here. I mean, everybody from the Amish community to, you know, just across the board, it was just amazing. You know, church groups and ministers and, again, doctors and, you know, university people and town people and, you know, mothers and, you know, it was a big deal.
I found myself reading about the gathering at Belfast at the first public meeting outside the big cities of the siting commission, some of the siting commission people. And that was big news. 5,000 people turning up for what I think is, most people agree, has been the biggest public meeting ever in the history of Western New York.
This time I'd like to introduce the members of the siting commission that are here and the siting commission staff. On my far right is Mr. Henry Maxwell. Mr. Maxwell is an engineering geologist with the siting commission staff. Seated next to him is Mr. Richard Wood. Mr. Wood is a member of the siting commission. He is a registered professional engineer and is director of research projects at Syracuse University. Seated next to him is Mr. Jay Doppelberger. Mr. Doppelberger is the executive director of the siting commission. And seated directly next to me is Dr. David Maley. Dr. Maley is a certified health physicist, and he is an associate professor of radiation biology.
People are afraid to death of radiation, and it doesn't make any sense the way they're afraid of it. Allegany County is concerned about getting a small amount of radiation from this facility. First of all, I think they're going to get 0 radiation from this facility.
I would like to know what you would have to say to a child who's diagnosed as having cancer because of his exposure to radioactive material.
you answer that when the child is being exposed to hundreds of millirems per year in his own home from radon?
Well, I think he's reflecting an attitude that is quite common in the nuclear or near nuclear associated industry, and that is that we know how to solve the problem. The public is stupid, doesn't understand radiation, has all these fears that are irrational, hysterical.
Why should the byproducts of this industry be termed low level, and why should we accept this immense responsibility in one county of New York?
We're in the 20th century, and we're acting as if we still believe in witches and ghosts. I mean, the radiation-phobic business is like a belief in ghosts.
What sounds like hysterical behavior about nuclear energy has a basis. Nuclear energy came on the scene, center stage, the curtain opened. What was it? It was Hiroshima. Not nuclear power, not nuclear medicine. It was a bomb that killed outright 80,000 people in a fraction of a second.
The day of reckoning is upon the nuclear industry in the United States.
Right on.
They have operated with a callousness toward people in this country. They have exposed people to radioactivity in some instances without their knowledge. They have denied responsibility when sheep died in Nevada and people died in Washington State. They have not built one repository, or may I properly call them dumps, in the country that has not leaked.
We're taking people who know what they're talking about versus people who don't know what they're talking about. That's the conflict.
Commissioners, we will fight this decision every step of the way. You're right. We will fight you in the legislature. Yeah. And if necessary, we will fight you in the streets. Yeah.
Well, every democracy has to recognize the fact that certain sacrifices are going to have to be made by some members of the society for the benefit of the others.
The majority is telling us that it is not safe for their numbers, but that it is acceptable for us. The majority to take this great risk. The minority to take this great risk, right? That's us. And to this injustice, I must quote, we hold these truths to be self-evident.
You know, it is not part of a democratic process to thwart the needs of the people of the state.
That when any government becomes destructive of this end, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it.
The federal government has always accepted the responsibility, and states have always accepted the responsibility. Well, they didn't accept any responsibility until the 1980-1985 laws that I referred to earlier.
I have a concern as to whether or not the legislation, that is both the congressional and the New York State legislation, is constitutional. I question whether they're constitutional for this reason. Is it constitutional for private industry to generate radioactive waste, something that's not worth money, but that's only a liability? And for Congress to pass a law that says, you, the people of the state of New York, own it. And by own it, that means that you will be forever and permanently responsible for the costs of containing it and any liability that results from a failure to contain it.
So those people who are trying to drag us back to the good old days, first of all, I don't think the average American citizen is going to tolerate that. He or she is not prepared to give up his car, even his second car, is not prepared to give up his power boat or whatever else he has, and TV set and VCR and computer, to go back to living like Abraham Lincoln.
We get up early, we work hard during the day, at night when we can't see to work, we go thank God for what we've got, and we don't need any nuclear plants.
The Siting Commission was on their podium, and they were crass, and they were not very informative. They were belittling to the public. One of them actually slept through the whole meeting, stood up on the stage and literally went to sleep with people's concerns. And so it enraged a lot of people. It got the community awfully upset.
The problem was we had nobody interested in the early days of the process, and we couldn't get them interested until we announced sites, and then they were too interested.
Have the guts to tell the governor that there can be no truly safe disposal with current technology. Have the guts to tell him that rural New York is not expendable. Have the guts to tell him that your obligation to select a site as mandated by the 86 law does not serve the general interest. Have the imagination to tell him, and the legislature, that to create still another hot site will guarantee, sooner or later, a 21st century catastrophe. Have the moral courage to recognize that the underlying assumptions of your reports are fatally, and I mean literally fatally, flawed. Hate is going to make more radioactive waste. It takes character to admit mistakes. As mistakes go, the 1986 law was a beauty. We hope you have the character to tell that to the government.
I think my response is that if I agreed with the premises, I would do exactly what you suggest. I don't agree. I think the job is an appropriate job, and I think that we're going to go ahead and do it because I feel that we should.
Make me stand right at the county line and say, hey boys, you ain't coming in here at
Oh, listen, Mr. Governor, up in Albany, this is Allegany County. There's something we can't see. Who gives you the right to poison our land? And do you care about us? And do you give a damn?
Allegany County, as we all know, is a Republican county in a Democratic state with a Democratic governor. Hey, you can talk about voting him out of office all you want. You never have voted him in office. So I mean, let's be truthful, right? We don't have any political power. We're not out there going, we don't have the population to sit there and say, we'll meet you at the polls. One of the reasons they picked us. Do we have any large corporation, anybody with so much power that they can walk up to Governor Cuomo, knock on his door and say, listen, fool, you put that site where my company is and I'll yank my people out or I'll move my company and leave you with an unemployment problem you can't survive with. We don't have that kind of industry in this community. So we don't have economic power.
The governor introduced the legislation as emergency legislation that kept it from having to be put through committee structure. It was introduced, it was voted on the last night of the session at a very wee hour of the morning. It was not clearly understood by people. Following the passing of the law, the governor appointed 5 commissioners. The 5 commissioners, of the 5 commissioners, 3, at least on the surface, would appear to be in violation of conflict of interests.
The first one, I would like to ask each of the members of the Siting Commission what your previous place of employment it was prior to being appointed to the commission. Well, my current place of employment is the University of Rochester, Department of Biophysics.
I was an engineer for many years at Sperry Corporation, about 28 years. I was elected to the Assembly in 1974, and I served for 10 years in the New York State Legislature as an assemblyman from Nassau County.
My current place of employment is Syracuse University Institute for Energy Research and the College of Engineering. I've worked there for 3 years. Prior to that, I was employed for 12 and a half years in Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation.
I'm a physician. I'm the director of nuclear medicine at the Mount Sinai Medical Center in New York City.
My previous employer was General Electric, and I was employed at the Mills Atomic Power Lab.
Dr. Maley works for University of Rochester in radiology. The University of Rochester has numerous violations of their NRC permits for disposing of nuclear waste. 40, I think, is the number.
Reporter Gene Kessner is the one who checked into the University of Rochester's nuclear practices. Gene, what did you find?
Well, what I found is the concern that the state has, the state health department, with how the University of Rochester handles and stores radioactive materials. The state says U of R dumps radiation into the Genesee River in excess of its license. It has lost radioactive materials and not been able to find them. And everything from desk drawers to trash cans to lab equipment has been contaminated. In reviewing just 2 years of U of R operations, the state found over 40 cases of nuclear mishandling. In defense of the university, David Maley says its safety record is no worse than anyone else's. If that's the case, I asked him why the public is being led to believe the proposed nuclear dump would be run properly.
The statement I always make is this is going to be millions of times safer than some activities you already indulge in. This is going to be millions of times safer than a gasoline station. How many people have been blown up at gasoline stations over the years when a pump catches fire?
Critics say this attitude makes nuclear users like the U of R sloppy because they don't have the proper respect for the dangers of radiation. They cite the illegal amount of nuclear waste being dumped into the Genesee River.
What I'm saying is, if you put radioactive materials into a solution, say the Genesee River or the sewer system, after a period of time it gets diluted. And I guarantee you, you're going to have to take highly sophisticated measures to detect it.
Are you saying that putting this stuff in is okay?
I'm saying it gets diluted down to levels where it's no different.
It's okay?
Well, it has a very, very small risk.
If he doesn't have a nuclear dump, then there will be no more research and he will be out of a job. So I'm not saying that that's wrong, I'm just saying that it appears to be a conflict of interest. Dr. Goldsmith, the same thing, he works at Mount Sinai Hospital.
I don't know where to begin with that, except one of the things that comes to my mind, again, is a French expression that I like. It's honi soit qui mal y pense. It means evil is he who evil thinks. They might be able to pervert their reason by their own self-interest. I don't pervert my reason by my own self-interest. It's not a big deal to me, personally, whether there's radioactive waste site or not.
And Mount Sinai is a hospital that Dr. Goldsmith works for. So he is in a position where his employer would benefit greatly from being relieved of this nightmare. So Mount Sinai is a hospital that has a great deal of interest in seeing a dump situated. But the other thing is that, as far as we know, Mr. Goldsmith also has shares in a company that makes radiation detectors. And what better thing to be making in a world with leaking dumps than radiation detectors? As a matter of fact, I'm not working with Dr. Goldsmith, but I advise anybody that's listening to this right now to buy a radiation detector because, this stuff's out of control.
Over the 2.5 years, almost 3 years, I've gotten to know the other people on the commission very well. I don't want to praise anyone or make any of us out to be saints. I'll tell you, all of them are very conscientious individuals, all of whom, even before the commission, have made many personal sacrifices for things in which they believe.
Wrote the story about the radioactive spill at 9 Mile 1 that had been kept quiet for years.
Well, 9 News has now learned that the man responsible for planning the cleanup of that spill is now helping the state to pick a nuclear dump site.
And that man is Siting Commission member Dick Wood of the town of Geddes, a man who Gene Kestner is here to tell us has financial ties to one of the biggest potential customers of the Niagara-Mohawk nuclear dump. Gene, what is Wood's connection to Niagara-Mohawk?
Well, Dick Wood worked for Niagara-Mohawk for 12 and a half years. That was before he took his present position in research at Syracuse University. And even his first year at SU, Wood had a consulting contract with his former employer. At the start of a recent interview, Wood assured me that relationship was over.
My employment at SU started in mid-January of 1986.
So you haven't, in 2 years, received any money from NIMO?
That's correct.
And
Over 2 years, almost 3.
however, as our discussion continued, Wood acknowledged that the NIMO ties are still alive. The utility gives grants to his department at SU. Wood works on NIMO research and is paid for it. Just how much financial benefit does he get from NIMO?
Less than 10% of my salary support.
Okay, less than 10% of your salary support is paid by Niagara-Mohawk grants.
That's correct.
And then you just said to me when I asked you that it's been almost 3 years since you've gotten any money from Niagara-Mohawk.
You asked me how long it had been since I was on the payroll.
Mm-hmm.
I have not personally gotten any money. There is Niagara-Mohawk funding for Syracuse University to a lot of things. Syracuse University benefits from Niagara-Mohawk. I'm an employee of Syracuse University. I'm not beholden to Niagara-Mohawk. Well, less than that. I don't know the exact number.
Richard Wood was a lobbyist for NISLWG, which is the New York State Low-Level Waste Group, which is the boys' club of the power generators in the state. They're the lobbying group behind the nuclear industry.
An earlier 9 News investigation revealed that one of the commissioners gets some of his pay from a nuclear utility.
And tonight, our Gene Kestner uncovers new questions about the possible bias of Commission member Dick Wood of Camillus.
Dick Wood works at Syracuse University now, but back in 1984, when he wrote this letter lobbying for a nuclear dump in New York, he worked for Niagara-Mohawk's nuclear division. We tried to talk to him about it, but he consistently refused to meet with us.
Gee, I'm sorry, I can't see you today. I have work that has to be done.
Did you get this copy?
Yes, I did.
Do you have anything to say?
Do you have my camera on?
Yes, he has.
Turn it off, please.
No. I want
Please
to know,
leave.
why won't you answer the question?
I will answer, but I don't have time today. I have work that has to be done, Gene.
Can you get outside for the Siting Commission because of your impartiality in question?
Please turn your camera off. This is unethical. Please leave.
I'm leaving. So I don't understand why you refuse to answer the question.
I will be answering your question when I have time.
You will not give me an appointment. I've been trying for 2 days. Now, you are on a lobbying group for low-level waste producers. What I wanted to know was how could he guarantee New Yorkers that he will be impartial? Radioactive waste did. The question I wanted answered was, why is it okay January 6th of 1984 to be working for a lobbying group that wanted a nuclear dump placed in New York State? And why now, in 1989, should he be on the Siting Commission that's finding such a dump site? A fair question, since the law says a public officer can't give the impression that any person can improperly influence him. It also says he can't deal with any business in which he has a direct or indirect financial interest.
So we have here on the Siting Commission, we have a politician and former employee of an electrical engineering company that's acting as a private citizen as its chair. We have a former employee of a nuclear utility and one who covered up a nuclear waste spill sitting on the commission. We have a health physicist who's there to assure us of that this dump is going to be safe, who's a graduate of the Atomic Energy's cover-up programs and has had serious spills from his own lab at the University of Rochester. And then we have Dr. Goldsmith, who is a paid employee of Mount Sinai Hospital and owns a company that makes, is a stockholder in a company that makes radiation detectors. I see that these people all have a very serious interest in not only having a dump built, but some of them could actually make money if the dump leaked.
We're really in a situation where
Vanessa Wiggs and the nuclear power industry have, for all intents and purposes, got a hold of the state and made it their instrument. They have used their lobbyists to pass laws which, for all intents and purposes, makes the state their agency for dumping this on us. So this is really a state-sponsored kind of trashing of Allegany County and its population. So to go before the courts when in fact the state owns the courts and the state is part of the problem in all of this did not seem to me to be a very, ultimately I didn't think it would be very successful. It might slow things down, it might stall things down, but I did not think it could bring about a definitive answer. It did seem to me, however, on the other hand, that civil disobedience was a proper kind of response that could be highly effective.
In May, the Siting Commission was coming in for what they call a windshield survey. And a bunch of us got together and decided that they really should not be allowed to do this. And ACNAG was born. The name we chose over some beers one night, and we've had to live with it. But it's turned out to be a thing that we're proud of.
On May 31st, when I found a vehicle surrounded by 48 Allegany County citizens, this was something that was very unusual for this county. And Allegany County is typically a nice, quiet, Mayberry-type county and community. And I could see the faces of those 48 people were frightened. They were people who had never done anything like this before in their life, who had never even expected probably to be in a position to be doing something like this. And I think they were a little frightened as to how I might react or how I might overreact. And I wanted to make sure that the situation stayed calm, so I wanted them to know exactly what I was feeling at the moment. And what I was feeling exactly at that moment was not anger, but I was feeling a little bit like Andy Mayberry on a bad day. I learned May 31st that the Yellow Armband was those people who, even though they felt very strongly about what they were doing, they were not prepared or trained to be arrested. Those people who wore the orange armbands were those people who had been trained and were prepared to be arrested.
That particular maneuver, by the way, was really not intended so much to prevent them from doing their windshield tour. That particular action was done to show to the people of Allegany County that civil disobedience was a viable option, that it could be employed, that it could become a kind of way of stimulating a form of resistance.
I was arrested in Belmont. That was, we call the May Massacre, because we had agreed in advance that when the police said you're under arrest, that we would all leave. It was a symbolic protest. I was a forward observer in Vietnam with the 1st 327th Infantry Battalion, 101st Airborne Division. When I went into service, I said I'm going to be a professional soldier. I'm going to do 20 years. In that respect, I always looked at anything I did in service as the fact that I was a professional soldier. You either have the right to your own environment or you're not free. And if you're not free, tell me that. You know, be up front with me. Walk in the county with an armed guard or walk in the county with the soldiers and say, you are not a free person. And let me deal with that situation at that time. But don't try to tell me I'm free and then push a dump into my backyard.
I don't wanna glow in the dark, oh no, I don't wanna glow in the dark. I don't wanna glow in the dark, oh no, I don't wanna glow in the dark. Don't want radioactive ashes falling from the sky. Don't wanna see that nuclear waste making this land a dying. I'm gonna fight till it's countermanded. Proud to be an Allegany bandit.
I look at this basically as a moral issue with me. I look at this as a moral decision. I have a real problem with religion. I've been fighting with my beliefs for so many years, it's ridiculous. Finally, I decided I must be agnostic. Because every time I think about doing anything, I always have to look at it two ways. I have to say, if there is a God, if God does exist, what does God expect of me? And when I think about that, I think I owe something to my God. I think I owe him something concerning the site that I live on, the environment I live on, and the people I live around. I must owe these people something. I must owe myself something, and I must owe the earth something. If I look at it on the other hand and I say, well, maybe there isn't a God, that means we must all be in it together. And if we're all in it together, what do I owe my fellow man? Do I owe him a personal decision? Well, I'll just sell out and go someplace else. Do I owe that person well, somebody else will take care of it? Do I owe the people around me, I'll donate money, but I don't know that I can take the time off. I'll donate money, I don't know if I can lay my body down. And I have a real hard time with that. I have to fight with that a long time. But then I normally come back with the same decision. For me to go to bed at night, I know what I need to do within the community of humans. I know what I need to do within the community of God. And to me, civil disobedience is the answer.
You people and myself and everyone in this county have been deceived. I want you to know that. There are things people still don't know. Still don't know about what is going on with the Siting Commission and how they're doing their thing. Let me just give you one tidbit that some of you may not even know about. And that, I'll tell you what happened. I was up to Ted Taylor's house when this happened. If you recall, they came out and said there were 5,000 rems per year that would be emitted from radiation from this dump they want to put in our county. And if you know and probably read in the paper, they came out later and said they had made an error. They said, well, it's 10 times that much. It's not 10 times that much, and I want you people to know it. It's 40 times that much.
In order for a rig to come in, they have to notify the landowner. They have to go to the landowner and ask permission. And the landowner can either say, yes, you can come on my property, in which case they will, or no, you can't come on my property, in which case the Siting Commission drillers will have to go to the Sheriff's Department and obtain an injunction. The sheriff will then have to serve the injunction on the landowner. And Sheriff Stoles is a very busy man. He drives very slow. So these injunctions will probably take quite a while to get back. So in terms of the landowners who don't want the Siting Commission on their land, there's going to be considerable delay. Right now, the only land that the Siting Commission can go on is land that where the owners have given permission. And as far as we know, there are very few of those.
I'm not going to sit back and let them do this to us without a big fight, a major fight through civil disobedience, non-violent action. And if I imagine my little girl, I want to impress her that way today. Because 20 years from now, when she's 29, they could come in here and say, well, this mountain's piling up too fast. There's too much already. What are they going to do? They might even incinerate. There's nothing that says they can't do that. They just might do it. And I want her to remember the impression that I gave her when she was a little girl at the age of 9. The impression is, we will not do this, and we are going to be able to stop it if we work together. We need everybody we can get.
Our object is not just to get arrested, but to stop them from doing what they're doing over the long haul, just to keep them from doing their work by our very presence.
What you've got to do is address the injustice. What you're angry at is the injustice, not the people who are perpetrating it.
Once you're out there, you link arms like this with your neighbors around the rig, and you stand there silent and implacable.
And you have to maintain your composure. You must, absolutely, positively, unequivocally, must remain non-violent for this to work.
Your demeanor is everything. It's going to be a little while before the TV cameras get down here. The guys from Buffalo have 2 hours, the guys from Rochester about an hour and a half. If we know in advance, we call them in advance. If we don't, you have to wait. But you've got to keep in mind at all times when the TV cameras are going what your demeanor is. Make everybody proud of Allegany County.
We got to force this back into the political arena from which it came and look for a more acceptable answer. Stop making the waste.
Even if you could say and agree that we would stop all nuclear power and not use it, turn off the nuclear power plants tomorrow. Society made a decision at some point in time to use those plants. And we would need to dispose of the materials that are inherent in those plants in any case. And there is low-level waste in a nuclear power plant.
An engineer can describe something that will last 50 years, 100 years, absolutely proved. It could then be tended for millennia. But we don't know who those people that would then be given that responsibility will be like. And I can see people 100 years from now, 200 years from now, hating us for what we left behind as a legacy.
And we've arrived at what we consider 4 methods that are the most suitable in New York for low-level waste. And they are a version of some kind of vault or some kind of lined shaft, which could be pictured as a caisson, a vertical concrete caisson, for instance, maybe with earth around it, into which we place waste containers. Or what we call a modular disposal unit, which is another man-made barrier of some sort that's more or less transportable. It might be considered a miniature vault in a sense, but it's one that can be moved from a process building to the actual disposal facility. And the 4th one is a mine.
The fact of the matter is they can't show you a photograph of one of these dumps because none of them have ever been built that survived the test of time.
And even though shallow land burial has been used successfully in other areas and was used to a degree successfully in West Valley, except they didn't use the proper engineering principles, people still don't trust it. So we're going to end up building a Taj Mahal to deal with a problem that is, in my opinion, a relatively low-grade risk compared to other things. Certainly a low-grade risk compared to gasoline, for example, and we certainly don't build concrete vaults for gasoline.
Those metals are intensely radioactive, but with most of them with half-lives in the order of about 5 to 10 years. They're embedded within the stainless steel. They could be left on a field or a platform and just don't let people go within, a certain distance of them, and they're not a problem. If you put them inside of a container, they're even, more protected.
And I was astonished to find out that metal parts of the water handling part of a nuclear power plant that's inside the shielding right next to the core, which get very radioactive. I was flabbergasted to find out that those were called low-level waste. Just some rudimentary back-of-the-envelope estimates told me that these were things that would give someone exposed to a piece of them, a few pounds, at a distance of a few feet, a lethal dose in a few minutes.
We have no choice. Am I going to tell the people in the cancer ward that they're going to die because we can't dispose of the waste? Give me an alternative. Tell me how to solve this problem. Tell me who's going to take New York State's waste.
I think Chairman Orazio has actually misled people, and I would be willing to bet purposefully, in focusing on a connection between the low-level waste dump and the maintenance of the diagnostic and therapeutic uses of nuclear medicine. And they're not connected. And I think it's part of the business of the deception that low-level nuclear wastes are mostly nuclear medicine wastes, which is absolutely not true. It's not even true in volume.
It's not low level. In fact, it's high level. And one of the first things one has to do in educating a populace and dealing with this, or for that matter oneself, is one has to learn how people are corrupting the language. And that's something the nuclear power industry and its minions in the federal and the state government have been doing all along.
An intruder should be able to intrude on that site in some reasonable scenario, okay, and perhaps drill a well or build a house or something, and he will not be exposed to an unacceptable level of radiation. I didn't say zero, I said unacceptable, within the regulatory limits.
It is not high-level waste, it's not low-level waste, it's not transuranic waste, it's not uranium mill tailings, and it's not source term material, which is the original uranium or plutonium. That's a separate thing. Everything else is low-level waste.
Let's build secure storage for these wastes at the point at which they're being produced, if for no other reason than to avoid having to transport them think about them in the same way that we think about the spent fuel which is there, which we also don't know what to deal with, how to deal with. And then get a international as well as national effort with all the resources and people and facilities needed to solve the problem of finding the least dangerous way of disposing of all of these materials.
You're burying your head in the sand because essentially you're going to have to do something with it eventually. It's either this generation or the next generation or one after that, but somebody's going to have to take care of it.
I don't think that the true scientists in the area really feel that way about this facility, and I'm quite frankly disappointed in Dr. Taylor's comments because I don't think they make any sense.
We've been told over and over again that Papa knows best, he knows exactly what he's doing, and we get evidence, it keeps piling up more and more and more, that there's no Papa. And so we're scared.
None of these people are practicing science, they're all practicing politics. And this is so political that I go home at night and shake my head and say, are we ever going to get through it? Because we can present all the facts and all the dangers that we want, yet if we can't achieve goals on political levels, then we're lost. And this is so much more politics than I ever wanted to get involved with.
Well, we realized very early on that most of their information was based on a computer-generated geographic information system. And that's where information is layered into a database. We asked the Siting Commission to allow us to verify, investigate, look at the Siting Commission's database. The concerned citizens, working in conjunction with the county, saw this as a priority.
If they were really just interested in checking what's in the report, I mean, they want to check to see if there's something in the disc that's not in the report. Well, that's absurd, because, I mean, what's in the disc is going to be in the report. I mean, they're not going to find any conflict. But they're trying to make it appear like there's something in the disc that we're hiding from. That's absurd.
A lawsuit was filed by the concerned citizens of Alleghany County. And the database tapes were requested of the Siting Commission.
Well, they didn't want to do that. Why? Because they weren't really interested. They were just interested in creating an impression that somehow we were the bad guys. I mean, pure and simple.
They lost basically a Freedom of Information filing by concerned citizens of Alleghany County, and were forced to release those tapes to the county and to the concerned citizens. They played a little word game on us at that point.
Now, we did make a mistake in that we did not require that the contractor use a format or use a computer system that was easily retrievable.
So although we had the tapes in the database and the GIS, we had no way of reading it. It was encoded in such a way that we could not interpret. The Siting Commission thought that this was rather funny and that they had pulled one over on us. But it's just indicative of the way that they have misused their status as a government commission and the way in which their consultant and them are basically conspiring to hide the true basis for their site selections from us.
There was no political chicanery in anything we did. We're a technical commission who's doing the job technically as honestly as we know how to do it. And I think that will be confirmed when all of this litigation is completed.
This is my garage. We hauled it 20 miles here. One Sunday morning, we gathered up 25 people, pried it loose from the foundation, loaded it onto a trailer, and took off. This is Alleghany Watch here. We run a 24-hour vigil on the dump site over here. We monitor the township by this CB radio mostly and keep in contact with other people in the area. They call in sightings of different cars and what troopers that are around and whatever else might be going on. This is our winter kitchen, actually, is this little setup here. We do have another kitchen outside that we use during the good months. We just recently got a telephone in, which greatly increased our ability to get off of this hill and contact people. McCastle has been our mainstay as far as someone staying up here.
Well, Concerned Citizens is your basic grassroots effort. I say basic. I really need to go past that because it's far from basic in the fact that it's been able to amass a lot of people, and it's been able to educate the public. And that's basically what CCAC does. It educates the public. It helps landowners understand the issue. It hires lawyers for people. It does those kind of things that are within the law. In that respect, it's narrow in how far it can go in this fight. ACNAG, on the other hand, Allegany County Nonviolent Action Group, draws a more definitive line. And the Allegany County Nonviolent Action Group merely says that where we stand is you don't go on the land.
The logistics involved in a civil disobedience action, particularly one that's carried on with the scale and the number of people that we have, it's mind-boggling. You have to set up a communications network. We've, of course, set up roadblocks. You have to have people to man the roadblocks, to set them up. You have to have people to use the CBs. We also have landlines, telephone lines. You have to have messengers. You have monitors, keep crowd control. You also have to have people who will supply people with food and water.
It's an army.
Has your experience as a forward observer in the military helped you set up the framework for a lot of what goes on in ACNAG?
I wouldn't answer that with a 10-foot pole. I'm a participant in civil disobedience.
About 11:30 this morning, a lookout spotted 8 members of the Siting Commission staff, the Allegany Sheriff, and Undersheriff looking at a 700-acre site off Old State Road in the town of Allen. Protesters quickly surrounded the group, locking arms and making the staff and lawmen virtual prisoners.
These are friends and neighbors. These are friends and neighbors that are making their point very loud and clear here.
Because the Allegany Sheriff's Department lacks a road patrol, the sheriff was forced to call for help from the state police. The protesters expected to get arrested. But when state police arrived, they decided that the protesters weren't committing any crime. So the man who owns the 700-acre site decided he'd press charges against the site commission staff for trespassing.
Yeah, I'm on off and stay off. So you're going to file a complaint with the state police? Yes, I do.
At last report, the state police had decided to charge the members of the Siting Commission staff with trespassing, and the protest has broken up.
By the time we got there, the line was already formed around the Siting Commission people, and they had been escorted down off the land. And I think it's just tremendous that they managed to trespass and get on the wrong property.
I don't know the status of the trespassing charges, but we did have full authority to go on site, so we were not in violation of any law.
And I think it's also real interesting that they call a walkover completed when they're on a 700-acre parcel for 20 minutes. And they can say, yes, we completed our walkover. We know all we need to know about that site, which is just ridiculous.
These were not a walkover for extensive geologic purposes. It was just to get, like I said, a general feeling for the lay of the land.
The Siting Commission people and the Weston people were treated very courteously. They were given coffee and cookies, and I don't know, everyone shared, and there was some dialogue.
The group was generally cordial, I would say. I guess if I had to be held hostage by a group, they were a relatively cordial group.
Yeah, I mean, in principle, when you take hostages and hold people, detain people for periods of time, in principle, it's not different than what's happening in the Mideast. I mean, granted, in this case, the people did not have automatic weapons and they didn't shoot anyone, but nevertheless, we were kept there involuntarily against our wills.
Charlie Barnes there, who put up that sign, signed with the Siting Commission. Okay, he signed the papers that gave them the right of access on his property. He doesn't agree with what they're doing. He doesn't want to dump there. But Charlie is steeped in the tradition of the law. The law says I have to do this. no, I got to do this. Charlie took the $1,300, I call it the 30 pieces of silver. Charlie took the money and donated it to his church. And Charlie and his family went to pasture and got on their knees and prayed.
Fires of protest lit the pre-dawn sky on a hilltop high above the site proposed for a low-level radioactive waste dump. Charlie Barnes, who lit the fires, used to work at Republic Steel. When he lost that job, he bought 216 acres and became a farmer. Now he may lose his farm.
Merely showing a sign of support and a sign of peace for my neighbors and the community.
No, there are many areas that are ruled out.
Why is that?
When he talks. No, but this is the law, the way the law is written and the regulations are written.
Well, what is the law? What type of law prohibits it?
Some of it is state law. As far as
there's
places,
state law for prohibiting it in those areas.
In certain areas.
But there's no danger to it. Why would there be a law?
Well, I'm saying is, for example, there are also regulations that are issued by in this case, the Department of Environmental Conservation, which tells us certain places we can't put it.
Time to move the crowd out?
We'll see.
Good morning, Captain. Has anyone threatened you? Rock the cars, thrown rocks or anything?
No, they just prevented our passage, that's all.
It's hard for a structure like a government to deal with an unstructured resistance movement. It drives them crazy. They want to talk to you, who are you going to talk to? You know, which one of us? If they want to talk to me, I don't make decisions for the group. If they want to talk to stewards, they don't make decisions for the groups. So there's no one person that you could go to and try to convince, argue, threaten, intimidate to do what you wanted, because there is no one person that's in charge.
What they are doing constitutes an act of disorderly conduct. Under the disorderly conduct section of the state of New York, it's a violation to block vehicular pedestrian traffic, which is essentially what they're doing.
So you would just be issuing them an appearance ticket for a later court date, or would we actually have to take them into custody?
We will, they'll be leaving this area, and most probably an appearance ticket after we get out of here. And
just take them to some other location and give them an appearance ticket. What if they come back?
No, then they come back, don't they?
You could be out here all day giving out appearance tickets.
We'll cross that bridge.
I believe I'm upset.
Only have 40 board
People on the line.
It's my farm. Do you think the state should be here doing this?
Hell no.
He felt that he had to obey the law. I'm not so sure he thinks that way right now. He was arrested on the Kennedy site, too.
After 4 years in the Marine Corps, I served this country good. My brother died for this country. Don't make a mockery of me. If I march you up there and making me do something and go to, you know where I'm going to go. Don't do it. Leave alone. I want these guys out of here. Take me in. I'll tell you now, there's going to be worse trouble.
I understand what you're saying. Let's just come on back here with me.
No, I don't want you touching these guys.
No, we don't want to touch the light.
What's really going on here,
Gentlemen, Allegany County. One of the landowners has, in a sense, requested that this all go away. Are you aware of this, Mr. Barnes? He would really like the whole thing to disappear.
If he wants everybody to disappear, then please just send the siting commission home.
That's right. Now, I can't do that because we know I can't. I explained to you before what we would be subject to arrest if you continued in this action. I've asked you to reflect on it. I've told you the reaction of one of the landowners involved here. Based on that, are you going to step aside and let traffic through?
No, we're not. We are ready to stand our ground, and if you have to arrest us, if you must do so, then do so. We will not step aside. We will not let the Siting Commission get on this land.
Right on.
Their cause is unjust.
Okay. Trooper Snyder, this gentleman has identified himself as Allegany County to me. He is to be charged with disorderly conduct.
Sir, you're under arrest for disorderly conduct.
Trooper Lucas Shevitz, this gentleman has identified himself to me as Allegany County. I want to charge for disorderly conduct.
You're under arrest for disorderly conduct.
Have you had time to think about your decision?
I have.
Okay. Again, I'm going to ask you to step aside so the traffic as a whole can come up to this road.
I can't do that.
Okay. Trooper DePlato, your name, sir?
Allegany County.
Trooper DePlato, Allegany County. The man charged for disorderly conduct.
Sir, you're under arrest for disorderly conduct.
Lock arms and stand for your children and the land you love.
Trooper DePlato, your name, sir?
Allegany.
Allegany or Allegany County?
Allegany County.
I want this gentleman charged for disorderly conduct.
Sir, you're under arrest for disorderly conduct. Who's on me?
Allegany County, this is Trooper Smith. Trooper Smith, I want this woman who identifies herself as Allegany County arrested and charged with disorderly conduct.
Name you under arrest for disorderly conduct.
Do you have a name, sir?
Allegany County.
Allegany County, Trooper James Johnson. Trooper Johnson, I want the gentleman arrested and charged with disorderly conduct.
You're under arrest for disorderly conduct. Please come in.
Step aside.
The position is that as the arrests are made, the line is filled in again. That's a situation that's not going to work. We've got to reconsider different options. I have no intentions of going back this afternoon. I've got other business to take care of.
Spike, have you achieved what you hope to achieve today?
As long as we keep them off the land, we've achieved what we want to achieve. It's that simple.
Is that a big whoopee for the record?
Is that a big whoopee for the record?
That's a rebel yell.
That's a rebel yell.
There are a number of things, if I had to look back, and would change. One is I would change the advisory committee. I would not have had it appointed by the governor. I would have had it appointed in a different way, such that it could have been responsive and been changed more quickly. And I would have had it have probably fewer state agency people on it and more local representation. I think we have tried to be very open, and that has cost us.
The first time I went to a Siting Commission meeting back in the winter of '89, I was really struck by how stagey the proceedings seemed. The commissioners were all up on a stage. They had TV lights on them. They had microphones and glasses of water, and the audience sat down below, and it was very much a performance.
We have been the most open agency in history in New York State. In fact, one of the reasons why it's so easy to criticize is that we've been so open.
Those meetings were so formal and staged that there were no decisions made, there was no dissension, there was no discussion.
As far as the open meetings law, we've got tapes here that will show people that all our meetings, including the so-called working sessions, have been open. I mean, we have never excluded anybody from these meetings other than when we legitimately had a need to have an executive session.
They were talking about when to schedule their meetings for the next few months. And they were talking about changing the day of their formal meeting from Thursday, as it always had been, to Wednesday. And I believe it was merely said, oh, so does that mean we're going to be meeting Tuesdays and Wednesdays instead of Wednesdays and Thursdays? And Commissioner Goldsmith turned to him and said, we only meet one day. That was my confirmation, and it told me at once that they did have meetings that were not announced and that violated the law, and also when the meetings took place.
Now, I will admit that we didn't give notice because we thought it was common knowledge.
Bureau Chief here, Sue Getchus, asked him, does the commission meet each month the day before its formal meeting? And being asked that question in such a direct way, he couldn't lie. Maybe he didn't want to. He said, yes, we do.
And there isn't anything. See, the impression is this: if we did technically violate the law, it was unintentional, and certainly no attempt to hide anything from anybody because we have nothing to hide.
He was saying at the time, and is still saying, that their closed meetings, their unannounced meetings, were okay to have because they limited the discussion at those meetings to topics that are allowed for closed meetings under the open meetings law. Even if that were true, and I don't know if it is, I rather doubt it, it doesn't bring them into compliance with the law. The law very clearly says they have to announce the date and time of the meeting, open it up in open session, and then go into executive session to cover 8 very specific, very narrow topics.
Those charges in the litigation on this on this private meetings thing the charges are absurd. I mean, they're absolutely, the whole package, that whole brief is full of lies.
Are we ready?
You'll see all the other cars up front pulling out, and then just pull out and walk up to the
And then walk
thing.
up and be arrested.
Right.
Right?
Thank you.
Who did you hear from that they were coming this way?
That is their basic plan. I'm not sure where it came from, where our source is. I really don't know.
How we doing? Who's our spokesman this morning? Good morning to you. How are you? Good morning. What have we got here? What have we got here, gentlemen?
Well, we got a roadblock here that is going to prevent these people from coming onto our property. We don't want them on here. Let's keep it this way.
Gary, as you know, the court has ruled that they have a right to come on to the site.
I understand that.
And as an officer of the court, I have a duty to assist in enforcing that order.
We fully understand that.
And we've contacted the landowners and they were coming. We've spoken to the Roberts. We'd like to inspect their land and do a walkover.
We don't care for you to do that.
You don't mind if we do it?
We said we don't care. We don't care for you to do that.
Right.
We're going to stop it.
We represent the people of Allegany County, and we feel that we represent everyone in the county. We are united in not allowing the siting commission to go up on land.
All right, so you're determined to not let us through at this point, then?
We are very determined not to let anybody through. You're not going on this.
Well, hey, I think we should try another location, Sheriff.
Very good. What we'll do at this point is we'll try another location. We're not going to drive fast, so if anyone wants to go to other places, there's absolutely no reason to rush. Let's be very safe out there, okay?
That's the way we want it.
Very good.
Safe.
The personal feelings are that I live in Angelica, and Angelica is surrounded by the 3 candidate sites in Allegany County. My family and I have lived in Angelica all our lives. This is our home. And I have a very strong feeling that, like most of the people in Allegany County, that I would not like to see this thing happen to Allegany County and have the site located here. I'm looking at a court mandate who pits me against my friends and my neighbors. And at the same time, I'm trying to do everything I can to assist these people to not cross the line and become violent. We understand that people have the right to protest and the right to demonstrate, and that right will be protected. Here I am repeating myself at this point, but again, the court has ruled these people have the right to go onto the site, and as an officer of the court, I have to enforce such court rulings. I ask for your assistance letting them go onto the site.
There's no way that these people are going to go on our land. We've said that before. We're going to stop.
And you stand for the rest of the group that's here, Gary. This is Well, we really would appreciate your assistance in this. We would like to do an investigation. You know, we've contacted the landowners. We have the legal right to go on the land.
We realize that we're not going to allow it. No dump here, period.
Mr. Goodale? Well, I guess we have to try somewhere else, Sheriff.
Hi, Bruce. Good morning. Good morning again. Gary, the spokesman, or who am I talking to?
Larry, this is Rich.
Rich.
Rich Kelly, and he's a dairy farmer. He's very concerned about this area, and he is going to speak.
All right. Go right ahead, please.
We're not going to allow you on this land. West Elmond and rural New York will not be sacrificed for the benefit of the nuclear power industry.
Of course, you understand my position is that the court has ruled the technical team has the authority and the right to come onto the property.
I'm aware of that. I would like to point out to the technical team that West Elmond has passed a law prohibiting the establishment of a nuclear waste dump in West Elmond.
Mr. Goodell, the technical team is standing here next to me. I'd like to introduce you. We really like to appreciate your cooperation. We've worked to look at the West Elmond site, and you understand that we have the authority from the state Supreme Court judge granting us the authority to do this.
I understand that. We will not allow you past us.
Sheriff, we've tried 2 other times. This is the last passable road. I want your help in getting us on the site today. Now, what that means to me is that these people are adamant that I must put them on as an officer of the court. I'll require assistance to do that. The assistance will be in the form of state.
We understand.
Oh, man. 151-100. 100. The technical team is adamant that they go on to site at this point. I can't do this alone. We're going to require assistance from the state police.
There's 10-4. The siting commission is unable to gain access to a roadblock on County Route 2B just before the Baker Valley Town Road. The sheriff is requesting assistance to attempt to get the siting commission onto the site.
It's scary if you've never ever been arrested to find yourself all of a sudden breaking the law, but I don't look at it that way. I feel that the criminals are the siting commission.
On that day, I just decided I had to be on the front line so I could do this stop and drop thing and hopefully get people to follow suit. Also to find out how the government or the officials would react to this. I don't plan on getting arrested to start with. I do plan on doing civil disobedience again. If it results in my arrest, that's the way it goes.
When Albany talks of a fringe element in Allegany County, that it's easy to think of a fringe element when you're sitting in Albany. It's another thing to be standing in a road looking at 300, 400, 500 people who are saying, no, you will not go down this road at any cost, you will not go down this road. So I think that these people who have come out in the technical team are under no illusions that this is an easy task and that this is a fringe element by any means.
The NRC basically gave it a clean bill of health. As far as the technical quality...
Is that the same NRC that normally the AEC had all the records of the workers at the plants? The same NRC that covered up the sheep deaths in Nevada? Is that the same NRC?
I think it is. You need to realize that the nuclear industry in general has little credibility, and we are a testimonial to that right here.
That we have of about 18 to 20 people here now, we couldn't possibly do everything that has to be done. So we hired a contractor to do this, and that's Roy F. Weston. They helped us with the screening process, the GIS. They hired a subcontractor themselves, Burns & Rowe, to help us with the method selection process. And they are involved in our public information activities and manning the local offices that we're trying to establish in Cortland County. So they have a very key role.
A company whose work is vital to the safety of a nuclear dump is in big trouble with the feds for falsifying information. Weston recently paid the feds $750,000 after it was caught fudging information about a Superfund cleanup site. Despite Western's track record, the chair of the Siting Commission feels the work they're doing will be good.
None of the people who were involved, none of the divisions of the company that were involved in this particular problem have anything to do with what we're doing. So that made us feel a little bit better.
Orazio is so steeped in the belief that this is a little insignificant rural community who should be the sacrificial lambs for the nuclear industry. And he has yet to figure out there are people just as smart as he is here. He's made so many comments. One was that people in Allegany County call it a dump because they can't spell facility.
He has a talent for making remarks that can be used by a whole movement to garner support. I'm sure you've heard other people talk about the mushroom remark that he made. He made that remark in a press conference in Albany. He said the leaders of the opposition in Allegany County treat their followers like mushrooms. They keep them in the dark and feed them manure. And then he sort of laughed as if everybody in the room in the press conference sort of shared this joke. It was a fundamental miscalculation of how that remark would be taken. It was a remark that helped the opposition to the extent where I can't believe he's that stupid.
She stated it correctly, that I accused the opponents of treating people like mushrooms. Now the impression was the opponents turned it around to say that I call the people mushrooms. On the contrary, I resent people being treated like mushrooms.
The governor's office confirmed it today. New York plans to file suit next week against the federal plan to make every state set up its own nuclear waste dump. Illinois is among several other states also taking the dump plan to court.
Perhaps the nonviolent demonstrations by folks down in Allegany County are having something of an effect. People there are irate about Albany's plans to possibly put a radioactive waste dump in their county. Well, now the state is hauling the protesters into court. Albany wants an injunction preventing the protesters from stopping their inspectors from looking over sites in Allegany County.
If they single me out, or, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of us, or 10 or 11 of us, or 40 or 50 of us, or however many they decide to single out, that's okay. I mean, that now they're involved with trying to tie us up into courts, and one, they're away from the land, which is what the issue's over in the first place, is keeping them off the land. And two, if they're so stupid that they think getting rid of 4 or 5 of us, or 40 or 50 of us, is going to change what happens when they come into this county, they're not living in reality.
They don't want to be able to arrest us. It's one of the reasons why they've gone over to trying to do injunctions. They don't want to arrest us. It costs the state a lot of money to bring in the state troopers. State troopers also don't feel like they can handle this, so they've gone the injunction route, okay? If you are enjoined, you do not go before an Allegany County judge. You will go before, in this case, the judge that ordered the injunction. You would go before Judge Gorski, who would not probably be very sympathetic in this case.
If we are found guilty of contempt of court under the civil injunction, we are subject to 30 days in jail and a $1,000 fine, which for normal, law-abiding people is a source of anxiety and very deep anger.
The injunction is against 4 people, and the wording of the injunction also includes a phrase that's called a John Doe, Mary Roe phrase that simply means that anybody who is acting in consort with these 4 people will also be enjoined. There are 4 people on the original list and the 28 people that were arrested at the West Almond site. As of this moment, only the 4 people, Sally Campbell, Stu Campbell, Gary Lloyd, and Spike Jones, have been served with an injunction.
This next action is going to be sort of a bit different, because in a way we have to be a little more tightly organized, because we must not be recognized. If we are recognized, then Larry Scholes will have to put our name down, and then our name will have to go to Judge Gorski.
ACNAG is apparently very dedicated to nonviolence. I've been a cop for 17 years, and I know that good people push too hard can reach a point where maybe they will do something that they ordinarily would not do. I hope to God that we don't find ourselves in Allegany County in a position where those people are pushed so hard that they do something that they would not ordinarily do.
I was very instrumental in developing the idea was that it would be very symbolic. People around here respect older people, and of course it seemed to me that that it would be embarrassing, as it turned out to be, for the state police to come in and arrest us.
I just told the sheriff exactly the scenario, that it's a no-win situation for him. He should go back to the governor, tell the governor that if he wants to arrest 6 hostages, then that's fine. 6 hostages, one of whom is in a wheelchair. I told him that behind them is heavy, heavy equipment.
Are you willing to say how old you are?
In 2 years and 4 months I will be 90. But I plan to live many, many years yet and enjoy a little fresh air.
Sergeant Hayes, would you step forward, please?
The news media, please.
Please, media, step back, please.
Step back, please.
Please. Come on, back up. Yes, sir. All right, I don't think we'll need the bullhorn. They're right here. You want to step right up with me, please? And,
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
By order filed March 8, 1990, the Supreme Court of the State of New York has issued a preliminary injunction prohibiting persons from interfering with the Siting Commission. Specifically, the court has ordered all persons not to restrict, obstruct, or in any way interfere with the activities of the Siting Commission, its employees, agents, consultants, and contractors relating to their entry onto and testing activities on real property in Allegany County. Even if you were not named as a party to this lawsuit, you can be held in contempt of court for disobeying this order. If you are found to be in contempt, the court can impose a penalty of up to 30 days in jail and a $1,000 fine, as well as a fine for the damages you have caused. This could require you to pay for the Siting Commission's extra costs caused by your actions. You have a right to protest the activities of the Siting Commission so long as you do not physically interfere with its activities. By blocking the road, however, you are in violation of the court's order, and you may also be subject to arrest and disorderly conduct.
Do each of you understand the statement that he's read? Could you hear it and understand it?
Yes.
Are you prepared at this point to open the road and obey the court injunction?
No, I'm afraid we're going to stay right here. As a matter of fact, we're voluntarily handcuffed to this chain, and we're not prepared to move.
I understand. At this point, Sheriff Allegany County, I must serve each of you with this order with preliminary injunction, and this I will do. Could I have your name, please?
Allegany County.
Thank you, Mr. Allegany County. Ma'am, I must serve you an order of preliminary injunction.
Could I give you something first?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to know that I consider that my freedom is being taken away from me by your coming in here. I want to give you something, and you can give it to Mr. Cuomo, and he can give it to Mr. Bush. This was given to me, you can understand, what it, I think you'll understand what it means. But if our freedom is taken away from me like this, I don't want this thing anymore. Help yourself.
Thank you, ma'am. Folks, you've each been served with a copy of the injunction. I've asked you to please comply, and at this point you tell me that you're unwilling to. It's a cold day out here. I don't like to see us out here in this cold. I ask you, please, let's remove the chains and let's get you people in where it's warm and let us continue on to whatever the next obstacle might be.
If I were not sheriff, if I were not any kind of law enforcement official at all, I'd say there's probably a real good chance that I'd be standing on that line with either a yellow or an orange armband. I love my county.
I'm afraid at this point what I'll have to do is to call the state police in. We'll have to have the handcuffs removed. Whether they're going to perform actual arrests is entirely up to them, but I'll need their assistance.
We understand.
All right. Thank you, folks. Ma'am, I will see to that the state authorities get this.
Am I correct in assuming you have decided not to leave? I am asking you, sir, specifically, sir.
Oh, me as an
yes,
individual.
You as
Yes,
an individual, sir. I'm asking.
Okay,
sir.
I have the book, please.
What was the reaction to by Angelo Orazio that after you were arrested? What was his?
Well, he, of course, from his standpoint, he had to try to put his best foot forward, and he made some statement along the lines that it was, he used the word unconscionable to use those older people in that way, and suggested that this was at the behest of a few ringleaders who were exploiting us, which was far from the case. As a matter of fact, we wrote then a joint letter to him. Yeah, dear Mr. Orazio, we are the 6 older Allegany County citizens who handcuffed ourselves to the chain at the Canandaigua Bridge April 5th and were arrested. We note with interest your expressed concern about us. The idea that we 6 were the victims of, quote, exploitation by the leaders of this movement, close quote, has many people all over Allegany County still chuckling. Your 6 poor exploited individuals include a widely respected landowner whose farm is near the Canandaigua site, a grandmother with 14 grandchildren who voluntarily ran the risk of a month in jail, a widely known sculptor, and 3 PhDs, one of them an emeritus professor of chemistry. Exploited. The very thought makes those who know us personally roar with laughter. No one here is exploiting us, Mr. Orazio, but you are trying to exploit us by writing us off as elderly victims of some sinister deception by our friends and neighbors in Allegany County. In taking that tack, you have once again shot yourself in the foot.
Did we save the best for last?
No, we got one more.
Okay, sir. I'm going to ask you to step aside. If you fail to do so, you too will be arrested. Will you step aside and allow the citing commission to go forward?
No.
Okay, sir. You're under arrest for disorderly conduct. Trooper Dobrinsky here will take you to the process. If you have any problems walking, if you do, we have a chair.
They just came up back of the barn here with some. I'm sure we can get some out here if we need it. 48 hours.
After the bridge, we blockaded all of the roads into the site. There are 9 access points into that site. It's the largest site in the county. We blockaded all of those access roads until we were sure which way the police and the citing commission were coming in. And when it became apparent that the citing commission and the police were coming up East Hill Road, we retreated back up that road slowly.
The injunction is in my pocket. You've been alerted as to what the consequences are. Let me ask you at this point if you're prepared to open the road and let the commission go on to the site.
They're fighting everything hard. They just haven't been fighting some things as hard as they have this, but I think this is going to set an example. It's basically down to the fact that people do not want to accept things in their backyard, and I think that's the real problem.
The industry wants to make it, let the industry keep it. It's not only simple, it's horse sense. It's just the only realistic way to go about it. Why complicate things with transportation, another dump, more people involved, more agencies involved, more tax dollars spent? When you've got it right there, just keep it there. I would say that if the industry is forced to actually deal with their waste, we will come to a either scientific or political decision that will be more favorable to the country a lot faster if it's sitting in their backyards rather than somebody else's.
Hey, you guys are from New York. You ought to be on our side. No, you're New Yorkers. Join us.
Hey, keep it cool.
You guys only got a few more miles to go. Let's go. Let's move. Double time.
Rise to your feet. Rock arms and stand for your children, the land you love and
When the police began arresting people at random, this we did not expect. The rules of engagement that have been laid down by mutual agreement here in Allegany County have always precluded the police arresting anybody who wasn't standing in the road. You couldn't be arrested if you weren't actively blocking the siding commission. Well, that all changed in Canada.
Asking expedited, and when you think that you've walked too far, you're about halfway there. Always a comedian. Doesn't have a sense of humor. You gotta laugh.
So we videotaped somebody who was about 15 feet off the road. They were singing. They just got arrested. Why did they get arrested?
Why don't we get off the road? Because then I'll have to arrest all you guys.
And we have 3 places in the state, at least 3, that are de facto radioactive dumps because the power plants are there. The places are already contaminated. They'll be contaminated for 1,000 years, if not more. Those power plants will sit up at Gannett, and they'll sit up at Oswego and in Indian Point for probably forever. So why take a beautiful place and spoil it so that the nuclear industry can continue their welfare ways? I mean, they're the only industry that has a state disposing of waste for them.
When it became obvious that the police had broken the rules we had agreed on, we decided that stronger measures were necessary. Back on the other side of the site, we had horses waiting.
I think that we should have a policy in this state that things will be decided in a logical, common sense way, not on violence. I'd like to point out that I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that more people could have been injured in Allegany County when the horses were brought in to attack the state troopers than will ever be injured by this facility.
The siding commission was desperate. I think the siding commission was able to somehow bully the state apparatus into one last desperate attempt to get them onto the land. When the horses came, they realized that they had been outfoxed, and they became very, very angry. The police became angry. That was evident from the way they were using their billy clubs.
Get him off there, Dick. Break his hand off that hand. We're real busy right now. Stand by. Let go! Look out. Come on, enough.
Right?
You keep your cool.
Get back.
Guys, gotta keep them glasses. Let go of the ring. There you go. Greg, when you go down, Rick will be. All over again. This is ridiculous. We can carry you down now. We shall not be moved. Get on, Phil. Can't stay free. Stand up, liberty! Stand up, liberty! Don't let it go! Back, no. It's all right.
Allegany, they'll take you home to torture the land that you wanted to roam. Out on the road, they'll haul it in. Truckloads of poison, and ain't it a sin? No Allegany, they'll break your back, don't you know? Your future depends on the people who love you so. No Allegany, let's stand up and fight for what you believe in, your God-given right to save the beauty and all that you see. 'Cause oh Allegany, she's down on her knees. No Allegany, there is still hope, don't you know? Your future depends on the people who love you so. Out on the road, they're standing in line. 5,000 strong, and they've made up their minds to turn back the poison, do all that they can to shove down the throats of the greedy rich man who dare to poison the land which we love. And oh Allegany, there's still hope, don't you know? Out on the road, they're standing in line. They're 5,000 strong, and they've made up their minds.
I far rather pursue a world that turns out to be too good to be true than keep drifting as we are toward a world that's just too unpleasant to contemplate. The worst that can happen is that the world turns out to be much worse than we thought it was going to be. The best is that it really turns out that way. And you say, well, maybe we'll be okay now.
stain. Rise to your feet, lock arms and stand for your children and the land you love, and never let the poison spread. Those alive will see you dead. No radiation without representation. Let the ones making it know people just are